My name is Brad Dutz, and I was born in Decatur, Illinois in 1960. That makes me 41 and 1 month. And I started on cello, and I dropped it down the stairs, and the bridge broke off, and I said, this is too fragile, so I think I'll play percussion. We're trying to go look for something new. And that's, I think, so much more valuable in the human spirit than material possession and financial gain and power. Look, you can make music on almost anything, and with 4 good trained players, you can really keep the interest and keep a groove by playing solid bowls.
Anything can be used to make music, and really in a sense that anybody can then make music.
The main message I tried to communicate something new, fresh, different, entertaining, funny, really aggressive, really subtle, like with brushes on brake drums or whatever.
It wasn't put together for commercial reasons or to necessarily expand anybody's career.
It's a struggle, it's a fight. I mean, we are in that fight, whether we want to be or not, just by the nature of saying, yeah, let's do this.
We work together and play together because we have the similar concept of looking for, explorers in music.
That whole idea of opening up the definition of music and rhythm and melody, opening all this and sort of busting it wide open and having them realize there's a whole world out there. You never know what's going to come out of the box.
If somebody walks away from my gig at the end of the gig, number one, I just think above all of it, it's like, gosh, I hope they say, wow, I just heard something different. And then second, if they didn't like it, okay. But if their first reaction is, wow, I just heard something new and different, then man, I feel like, cool. I did my job right then. How cool or how strange to drop bottle caps into a bunt pan, or to turn a bingo roller, or to spin marbles.
It's really asking a couple things. I think the central issue for the artist is, how much am I willing to think about my audience?
Are we novelty? Is that the strongest part of this? And I don't think so, but one might ask that question.
Found objects is this huge category that'll never be exhausted. Special mallet. Also, you guys remember this tune needs 1 can. Oh, sorry.
I got lost in the.
On the last page.
Yeah.
Want to do the last page, or from the cue? You want to do from the cue, you guys? So how we do that? Well, I'll try to slow it down if it ends up there. Because we can't do that. Moist will be easy. Moist, feature this, each person solos, right? There's 2 totally improv tunes that are just directed improv, which you do whatever you want. turnip, and spleen.
Okay.
And then if we can put together obliterate an Autobahn wig and constant machinery.
We haven't played that in a long
with
time.
the steel drum in the middle of us.
We haven't played
I'll
that
bring it
in a
out next
really
Friday because I got to reset up.
Okay.
And we all got to do constant.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's where there's a steel. Did you hear it on the record, Shaffer?
Yeah.
There's a steel drum in the middle, and everybody's
It's
doing.
monumental work.
It's not that hard though.
No,
It's easy. It's really there's hardly anything
Like
written.
reading wise, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's like each person is like stirring or cranking and dropping garbage into the steel drum. As you're motivated by success, money, or radio airplay or something, I think you've lost the quest to come up. It'd just be nice if somewhere down the road other people would notice and you'd be able to work more often or be able to do more concerts for what you do, which I'll keep trying to do. I won't, like we were talking about other people we're reading about who will just keep trying, doing whatever they can do to make a living. It's a great challenge, but if I lose sight of like trying to be creative, then I'm dead in the water.
You got to play more crispy.
More crisp.
That makes sense, Joe. Wir gehen in das Zimmer, wir müssen practice die Trommel. So he goes biff, you go biff, biff, you go biff, 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 and I go,
Right.
Hi, my name's
so how does
Larry.
it know that? Make sure our can has some products. That was pretty good.
With what we're doing, I don't know if there's a wrong way to play any instrument. There's a lot of solo sections where it's free and the players can bring what they want to it. And I brought this old violin that I have, and it's not useful as a violin. You can't tune it. You can't stay in tune. So I actually played that with mallets, and sort of so the violin became a percussion instrument. So that's a wrong way to play the violin by most people's standards, but something came out of it that was interesting musically, and people really liked it. So that's an example of a real instrument played what most people would perceive as the wrong way, but to me, there is no wrong way.
Since I've been a percussionist 20 years, I started liking the idea of finding objects because I use a lot of found objects in other work too. So I figured, why not try to base a whole percussion quartet on found objects? Goodwill stores, of course, are where, there's a lot of good junk. And there's a lot of good stuff, rummage sales, flea markets, and that's where I go to get these things. Because now the percussion quartet is a little more unique because it is really just found objects. It's so easy to go to so many stores and find like good junk. You can go to industrial metal supply, electrical warehouse outlets. LA is like there's tons of nice found junk here. Yeah. Too long. Look at that. I have so many regular percussion instruments, and I've already written a lot for them. Like I've written a lot for marimba, xylo, bells, congas, timbales, doumbek. But if I go into a store and find a bunt pan and it just makes this ringing sound, then I have a plate or a platform of something I've never worked with before, and that object itself kind of inspires me to get out 5 different sticks and hit it.
I used to have a studio behind the house that had a pool. So I was walking with cymbals and stuff, and the cymbal crashed and fell in the pool, and it went down microtonally in pitch, and I said, whoa. So I started getting pieces of metal and hitting them and dipping them in the water and realizing that, wow, this is a very interesting sound.
Like, what point as a mallet player or percussionist, when did you or did you from really early start finding and making up your own instruments and finding objects?
What happened with me was, I've been a serious collector for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And what really happened was that I'd come home from a trip and composers would say, what's new? What's new? I gotta have something new. I gotta have something nobody else has used. And it became more and more difficult to find stuff. Composers would ask for instruments, so Celeste and I used to go to hardware stores, junkyards, and just look for stuff that might work for legitimate sounds in the studios.
Can you remember like your first axe you built? Or was that like...
I think the first serious instrument I built was the water chimes. We built this trough and we put a faucet so that we could let the water out when we were finished. And it has a pedal, and you'd hit the discs and drop them into the water. And then I went to a scuba shop and got a mic that they put on their throat, a scuba mic, and put that in the water. And there's a fundamental in the water that your ear doesn't hear. So I put that through an amplifier, and you're hearing, but in the water you're hearing, oh. You're really hearing a low fundamental that you just don't hear.
Because it stays in the water.
It's in the water, yeah.
The sound wave is under.
And I remember we were doing a picture at Fox, and I had the water chimes there, and I got there, and Shelly Mann had bought 4 goldfish and put the goldfish in my trough. And I had to figure a way of getting them out of there, or I couldn't empty the water out of the trough. But it was wild, because when we hit the discs and dropped them in the water, the fish would literally stop dead in their tracks, because all of this sound vibration was going in the water.
I'm going to go home, and I got a fish pond. I'm going to go home and check this out.
Most composers take a percussion instrument and take its sound and use it out front, just raw, the way it is, like this, Let's just say they take a couple of sounds of metal and say, oh, that's an interesting sound, I'll use that in my score. But the infinite amount of possibilities of marrying different percussion instruments with each other is not even been tapped yet. I mean, if you start marrying the metals with the woods or the skins with the plastics, you can come up with colors that synthesizers could never duplicate. If I'm at a restaurant and I hear something, I turn around and say, what is that? And I look for it, and it could be the waiter with a tray, and I say, where does this restaurant get those trays? And it just happens to be a good sound, you know. And I think percussionists are just open to good sounds.
I think it's just human nature to want to communicate and leave something for someone else to sort of see a little bit of you in.
My job as a musician has to be to move the music forward in some way.
You know, the point of going out there is to share that experience with the audience, and to feel like there's an audience that wants it. And feeling like there's not an audience that wants it is much worse than having a small bank account. The main thing that I would want is that we made some music and we were honest about it.
It's unfortunate if nobody sees it or hears it, whatever it is you're doing, but at least it would be more unfortunate if it never got created, you know.
There's no labels, there's no tours, there's no videos, there's no radio time, there's nothing. There's very little, and so everything that we do, we have to do ourselves.
Day-to-day comforts are not really going to be yours, but you wouldn't trade that. I think it's because I've come up as a percussionist and I'm directly in tune with that sort of primitive urge to strike something and hear what happens when you strike it, you know.
But if you have 4 artillery shells being bowed, man, then you really go, wow, I'm inside artillery shell land. I got to get out there and play and bump into people. I like the social interaction. I like to see the reaction to the music. I like to hear my friends give me feedback about the music. And every performance, it's like going to school. You know, you do a gig and you find out, wow, okay, now next rehearsal, I really know how to prevent that mistake. So then we're teaching ourselves by getting out there and I could just do it in the living room all day too, which would be fun. But you just don't, that's more controlled too. It's better to get out and now set up all the metal junk in a club or a concert, because I'm going to learn more in a new environment with these different players about my music.
This is one of the earlier works. It's called Moist Desert. It's written for 4 bunt pans and 2 piles of bottle caps, and there has to be 15 bottle caps in each pile. See Moist Desert?
if I really had a strong desire to have like a really nice house and a big house and a nice car and all those kinds of things, then I guess I would have pushed harder for it. But it really, for me personally, is not as important as having the time to do things like this. This group, you know, is great for all of us. I think we all say the same thing, that it is an outlet that it would be hard to. It's hard to find in the general, as you just sort of move through the music world. You know, it's hard to find this kind of outlet. It makes us go on doing what we do. If what we do is heard by other people and understood for what we wanted it to be, it inspires us to do it more and do it better.
I would assume most of the time, even if I think they don't totally get it, even if it's out of the 5 people, there's probably one person who's really digging it, and so I guess it makes it worth it.
The point of going out there is to share that experience with the audience, and to feel like there's an audience that wants it. And feeling like there's not an audience that wants it is much worse than having a small bank account, although that sucks too.
Anybody that's an artist will tell you that, you know, you don't really, it's not really a choice that you make. You just do that, and you're going to always have to do that. Because I've come up as a percussionist and I'm directly in tune with that sort of primitive urge to strike something and hear what happens when you strike it, you know, and it excites your ear, and you want to strike the next thing and hear what does that sound like, you know.